Underground podcast where we talk about the things from the perspectives that you don't seem to really care, know, or anything about. So, that's kind of what we do. It's the little corner of the wrestling internet community where we scream, hey, listen to us. We have an idea what we're talking about. I'm your host, as always, Chad Fordham. Joining me, as always, is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, I've had a fun day. I worked a little. I'm going to work a little bit more after. I worked out some. That was fun. Been eating a lot of vegetables lately. I'm looking svelte for Zach's, I don't know, reduxing of the wedding. They pushed it to June. It's actually the day before, day after your birthday. It's the 12th, so it's the day after your birthday. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, this is a good day. It's been a good day. Marcus, how's your day been?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
You got some funny videos waiting for you after the show, so I hope they tickle your fancy as much as they tickled mine. Because I was ugly snorting during some of them.
It was funny because I had seen that one with the girl and all the dudes. That was hilarious.
the best one was the white dude just going, no. Everyone's all like, we respectfully declined your invitation, or as a member of we would like to adjourn and give, and then it's just white dude in the skull. He goes, no.
It's bad. It's bad when like the bad people are like, you know what? We'll keep Kanye. We'll keep it for a little bit longer. You stay.
I think you're gonna like the Avengers one I sent you. So we have some things to talk about today. We have AEW Revolution. I watched it. I don't know why. We got some hype. A new face debuting in the ladder match, and a big name going to debut and sign a contract. It's like, oh, okay. Plus, they're going to have Jericho and MJF challenge for the tag titles, and then they got the exploding barbed wire match for the main event. I was like, oh my goodness, this is like a big hyped up show. Is like Revolution their big show now? Because last year, that was the show that Moxley won the title. So, to me, I was like, all right, this could be huge. It wasn't. It was pretty bad. I watched every match and angered some people at Powerbomb Jitsu. They're like, why are you even watching if you don't like it? I'm like, because I'm going to talk about it. I don't want to be one of these guys who are like, oh, you do. I just suck. Did you watch it? No. I don't want to be that guy.
It's not a good argument. Why are you watching if you don't like? It's my job.
Right? It's quite literally something that we need to do. So, Marcus, before we go match by match, just general thoughts, feelings, questions, concerns, comments about Revolution.
Yeah, I mean, it was a show. It didn't really click with me. It wasn't nothing that was necessarily mind blowing. Some surprises, but not, like I said, nothing that necessarily moved me. Solid in terms of, I guess, presentation and whatnot, but I don't know. I'm kind of like thumbs in the middle on a lot of the AEW stuff for whatever reason. It's interesting stuff here and there, but nothing that's really moving me. I don't know if it's because the product has become consistently stagnant, or I'm just like I said, I don't think I'm just interested in a lot of what's going on a TV, except a few things here and there, like Sting and a couple other things. But other than that, it's kind of just there for me.
I think the problem with specifically AEW, and to be clear, we've never been a show that has ever taken a side, quote unquote. I've always felt like you and I and Zach and anyone else who's ever done the show with us have always taken a perspective in terms of like how we view things. It's always a perspective, not a side. This is what we're looking for, and if it doesn't meet that, if it doesn't match that, if it doesn't fit into that perspective, then it's not something we think works. So we're not going to shift our perspective to make WWE look good, or make AEW look good, or Impact look good. Those companies need to shift themselves to fit into our perspective. So I've never felt like a guy who's ever had to take a side in anything. We spent most of 2015 and 2016 going, maybe it's time to go and give up on Impact. Like, it's been bad. And then 17, 18, 19, and last year came around. And, well, last year was a bit rough because, everything was rough last year and this year. I feel like they've really put their best foot forward, and they've made a lot of stars in the wrestling business. And Impact has really found their ebb and flow, so to speak. I don't think everything they do is great. You know, like I've had my issues with the cinematic wrestling matches, and that was before the pandemic. So, again, we aren't a all or nothing type of group. We don't look at things to dismiss or admonish people. Admonish. There we go. People just because of what they like or what have you. But when I say that I hated Revolution, I thought it was a terrible show, it's not because I'm anti AEW. I want more companies to exist in wrestling because that means wrestlers are going to get paid more. It means more fans have an opportunity to discover it, and it means that there's going to be more styles and ideas that come about through this. And that's just that's all good. I don't see how that's a bad thing at all. But Revolution 2021 was a rough show. There's no other way to put it. It was just a rough freaking show. So let's start with the first match, and I'll go through these pretty quickly because everyone's already had their say, and I'll just add a little bit. But the problem with Bucks v Inner Circle is that they kept doing the kick out of 2, oh my god, and it went on for like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It's when you realize that that's the only idea they have, and I want to say that it's just to this one match, but every match I saw on this card pretty much had that same formula, like almost, and that's fine, but to do it so consistently and for it to be the only narrative you have is kind of stupid. There's so many different ways to do a pinfall or to tell a story. There's the back and forth. There's the comeback. There's the domination. There's the fluke win. There's the guy who wins only gets one pin attempt and he wins off of it, while the guy who loses had like 20 and couldn't keep the guy down. Right there, 5 ideas for a 9-match card. I just gave you 5 different ways to book your show, and that's not even including the fact that there was a tag team turmoil match that included a over the top stuff, or a street fight, or a ladder match where you could have done all different things with that. So like you could have had a different type of match for all fucking show, and yet each match kind of had the same idea of near fall. And eventually it gets to the point where it's like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's like
looking at my.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, you just start looking at your watch, like, all right, now, all right.
And it would be one thing if it was like the final 30 to 60 seconds of a match. But with the tag team title match, it was a 17, 18-minute match, give or take. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I said it felt like the near falls, section of the match. The 1, 2, oh my god, at 2.9 was, 7, 8 minutes long. We don't need that. No one needs that. No, why would anyone need that? And honestly, man, the Bucks, you're looking old as hell. You're looking ragged. You're flabby. Your hair's thinning. Maybe it's time to change your name because you ain't young. You ain't young. Sorry, buds. Jericho looked like he was a 51-year-old COVID super spreader. But Jericho, if you do a concert, you'll kill us all. Then so be it.
Oh, that was perfect.
Thank you. It was just not a good match. It really wasn't. And the Young Bucks did a super kick on a guy doing a moonsault. I've never seen that before.
No, Ricochet and Adam Cole did it, and they perfectly nailed it.
Yeah. Hell, I saw the Young Bucks do it on a tag team match like a decade ago. Like, yeah. I have this theory. Speaking just on a specific kind of a note, I think the band, the Avenged Sevenfold, fell apart when they started to produce songs that sounded identical to one another as their hits. And I feel like that's when they kind of fell off the radar as a band to keep an eye on. And I feel like the Young Bucks are doing the same thing. They don't have anything new. They're living off their reputation. And they're not great promos. They're not really that exciting to listen to. Like, oh, I watch Being the Elite. Yeah, you and 20,000 other people, and that's it. No one else cares. So what else do the Bucks have to offer? I don't know.
Yeah, like I get it, the narrative that they pretty much started AEW with Cody and Omega, and then it's taking them that high of a long to get those straps. So now they're having their time, and that's cool. And obviously they have have stamped their mark in the, I guess, the wrestling history books and what they've done. But to me, and probably this is just preferable to our taste when it comes to the teams. But you got Pentagon and Phoenix and Santana and Ortiz, and they are not doing anything essentially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's who I want to see go at it.
And I don't know what's going on with FTR, but FTR wasn't even involved. At least, no, were they involved in the tag team battle royal?
I gotta go back and see, but I really had tuned kind of tuned out of that actually.
They weren't. I'm just looking through it now, and they weren't. FTR, were champions for 60 odd days. I don't even know if they're under contract with AEW. The OG, not OG, but that's someone completely different. The 2017 version of LAX, Santana and Ortiz, are being used as forget-me-nots, hand-me-downs. They're not being built around as the stars they should be. You have just so many tag teams in this division that are taking a back burner. And yeah, you got 3 shows. You got Dark, Elevated Dark, or Darker Than Dark, or Absence Dark, or whatever, Obsidian Dark. I don't know what the fuck their new show is called. But we got 11 matches. How about some freaking storylines, man? Like, honestly, give some of these wrestlers, plots, promos, a way to build up their name. Like, they have Jake Hager, Mr. To Make America Great Again. And listen, you can like him or not like him all you want, but he's a Bellator heavyweight fighter. He's a former world champion. He's, co-headlined WrestleMania. And yet he's nothing more than muscle. Rusev's doing a comedy angle with Chuck Taylor. Like, what are you doing with these talents? Honest to God, this is too much of a good thing, honestly. And it's too many people are going by the wayside, and I don't think they realize that, or don't care, or maybe they do realize it and they don't know how to fix it. I don't know.
And not to take a shot at the particular situation in any way, but with the unfortunate passing of
Luke
John
Harper.
Hubert.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they're also making a concerted effort to push, the differing members of the
Dark Order.
I'm about to say Dark Order. Thank you. So you got that, and it's kind of hard to care about a lot of those guys when you don't see their face, and you kind of look at someone and be like, if I did see his face, I really wouldn't care. Like it's great to see this kid out here, and obviously he legitimately is under contract, which is cool. But it's like it's kind of hard to get into some of that, and all that. One of the other biggest stars is supposed to be Adam Page, but you don't care. Like, I feel like last time I cared about anything Page did was when he was in New Japan, and that feels like it's been ages ago. So,
the Dark Order to me are just quite honestly a failed gimmick that they refuse to kill. I don't know why they're still doing it. I don't know what the idea is long term. Their face is now apparently, and Colt Cabana is part of the group, and most of their members are numbers, and the guys who have actual names have no value to their names. Like, who cares about Stu Grayson or Alex Reynolds or John Silver? Like, those are the most boring ass white bread names I've ever heard in my life. Like, you sound like my accountant. I don't even have an accountant. That's how boring your name is. You sound like my fictitious accountant. So, but instead of changing things up and trying to make the Dark Order unique and adding some characters, because they have no characters. I've watched maybe an hour of AEW footage outside of Sunday night, and I can tell you that these guys have no characters. And you can sit there, oh, no, they don't, because characters shown on a weekly basis. characters influence how they wrestle. These dudes don't have any characters, and I don't know what AEW is doing with them, and it's just awful. And I don't know. They're just fucking terrible. So anyway, what dumb thing do we have next? We got the Casino Tag Team Royale for the AEW World Tag Team Championship opportunity, brought to you by Casino Royale, the AEW video game for the phone that no one wants to play because it's a fucking gambling game, and I hate this company. Everything they do just irks me. They had a bunch of no-namers, bunch of who caresies. The Natural Nightmares, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, 3 versions of the Dark Order, the Inner Circle, which was Santana and Ortiz, the Seidel Brothers, the Gun Club, made up of Austin Gunn and Colton Gunn. Pretty picture. Apparently, Peter Avalon has stopped doing the librarian gimmick, which I don't have a problem with because that was a stupid fucking idea to begin with. He's tagging with Cesar Bononi, who I thought was some type of NXT rat or informant.
Cesar Baroni, second cousin to Hector Zeroni.
He's out here. I actually liked them. They actually had a gimmick, which I thought was good. Bear Country, I thought were pretty cool. That's Bronson from NXT, right? Bronson Sawyer Bronson, something like that.
Bronson Sawyer. I know Bronson Reed is in NXT.
Let's see.
He's a big guy, Bronson Reed.
Yeah, the guy I'm thinking of got let go in like 2015, 2016. And I think his name was... Let's see. See if the wrestling fandom on has any answers for us. Let's see. Bear Bronson. Nope, not the guy I'm thinking of.
Speaking of NXT, whatever happened to your favorite guy, your guy, Mr. Kona?
You need to not. All right.
Hey, you so Tatsu at me, I gotta throw something back. Oh,
see, here's the thing. Tatsu at least, has a chick who comes down with him, and he's got like cool music. Boy, that's a thing. So yeah, Bear Country isn't who I thought. Well, I thought one of the members was. I think he's with All Japan now. I forget his name. It's like Bronson something or Sawyer Fulton. No, that's not right. I'll look him up later after the show. We also have Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, The Butcher and the Blade, Private Party, SoCal Uncensored, The Death Triangle, and The Dark Order. Again. Ray Phoenix last eliminates Jungle Boy, and yeah, that's your match. It was a thing.
And who won?
Death Triangle. Pac and Ray Phoenix.
Oh, well, could have been worse.
Could have been better too. Then we had the finals or the winner of the women's tournament, Ryo Misunami, taking on her Hikaru Shida. I'll get these right eventually. I didn't even watch the match, truth be told. I went downstairs to get some food, and I wasn't in a hurry to get back because the build-up to this was terrible. Did you see all those matches in Japan that they filmed? They looked like someone was filming... like at an indie show with like a phone from 2012. The quality was bad. It was not good. I got nothing to say about this. What about you, Marcus?
Yeah, I appreciated the match, and they tried to do the narrative of, I guess, Sheeta had never necessarily beaten the other lady. But again, and I appreciate them trying to get the foreign talents on there and over. And obviously, I think that's probably more of an Omega thing if he's still going over the women. But yeah, this is still a significant element, and they show that they need to improve. Sheeta, like the young lady before her who was smaller, they've done great strides to have these matches and to put a lot of oomph when they needed to show up. And like I said, I think this was one of my more favorable matches just because of what they did in ring.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you got to make me care, and I really didn't care. I think they need to get names. I just saw on Twitter today, and God bless her, Swole has been off TV because she's been dealing with, I think she got Crohn's disease or something like that.
Oh, that's rough.
She's dealing with stuff with that because she couldn't. Um, the whole COVID situation happened, and obviously the medication she takes for her Crohn's shuts down her immune system. So she's been dealing with that. But they need to get names in there to kind of tie up in major like emotional plot points because I'm more interested in stuff like Thunder Rosa's doing run-ins, and making saves. And so I'm not saying that she just dropped the belt off Sheeta to her, but I care more about, Rosa and whatnot. So they still trying to find a medium with that. Um, but I can understand why people didn't care because this was just another name, another foreign name like they were doing in the beginning, and kind of just come in there and do a good one-off with some good match stuff. But if you don't care, ultimately, why watch?
Good lucha stuff.
Yeah.
I feel bad for. Why can't I remember his name? Who's the little luchador who said good lucha things?
Good lucha things.
He's part of the Lucha House Parties, the smallest of the three. Callisto? Yeah, Callisto. I think that's his name. I was going to call him Samurai Del Rey, which used to be his indie name. Couldn't figure it out. By the way, Marcus, the guy I was thinking of who I thought was in Bear Country was Bull Dempsey. Remember Bull Dempsey?
Oh yes, Bull Dempsey. What? Yeah, Bull Dempsey. Man, that guy was favored, and they was trying to get him over. That just didn't. That was an interesting experiment they tried with him.
Yeah, he's on the indie scene now. I thought that's who was in Bear Country. All right, let's see what else we got. Miro and Kip Sabian defeated the Best Friends, Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor by submission. I have nothing good about to say about this match. I don't care about the storyline.
I'm right there with you. Felt about this how you felt about the women's match. I don't care.
Well, to be fair, in my defense, in the women's defense match, I didn't watch it. I can't say anything good or bad about it. But this match I saw and it was bad. It was.
Yeah, I mean that's why I didn't watch this because it's like I don't like. Rusev's been just babbling off, and I appreciate the Best Friends when they're in certain aspects, but other than that, I don't care. And what is a Kip Sabian? So other than I don't care enough about it as a girl to be checking out an entire match for no reason. So it's not like it's Maria. So I didn't need to see it.
Maria, Maria, you remind me of a West Side Story. The little Santana never hurt anyone. Carlos Santana, not Santana and Ortiz. So yeah, I wouldn't have minded if it was Rusev versus Orange Cassidy because Orange Cassidy has a gimmick. He's got a look. He's got a style. Miro's just kind of, I don't know. Was signing with AEW really that was that really the best call for you? I don't think it was, but big money match, winner gets money. Matt Hardy, big money versus Hangman Adam Page. This match was trash. Matt Hardy can't work anymore. That's pretty damn obvious. And Adam Page to me is Carson Wentz of pro wrestling. You keep telling me he's got potential. I'm not seeing potential. He's the Andrew Wiggins of AEW. Yeah, you keep saying he's going to be a star, but here we are and still not a star, and he's got no charisma. Oh, he drinks and swears. Oh, boy. He rode a horse once, Marcus.
Like, but Chad, what about his cowboy shit? Like, oh boy.
Oh boy. Boy, he's trying to be Kid Rock. Oh boy.
He gets horse to the old town road, and I don't care if he rides it anymore, okay?
He's like not even like a cool cowboy. He's like one of those Brad Paisley cowboys. I've sent you that Bo Burnham song, that Western song that he did, the pandering. Yeah. That's what Adam Page feels like. He's pandering. I don't even think he's from the West. Where is he from? He is from Virginia. Kihik. He's from Virginia. That was me trying to be goofy. I wasn't trying to be derogatory. My throat's fucked.
This was another situation I really was tuning in and out for. I assume page one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I
The,
mean, why was Matt Hardy winning matches at this stage? I don't know why he's still getting in the ring after all that crap he went through with Guevara. But it's kind of is what it is. But Paige is just middling around, man. I don't know if they kind of put him on the back burner permanently or just trying to find something new for him to build up some momentum. But I feel like, we done kind of tried this well a couple times. I don't think it's got drinkable water in it right now. So
and here's the thing: he's been around for a while. He really has. And everyone keeps saying he's going to be a future world champion. He's going to be a future world champion. He's going to be if unless something changes, there's nothing about him that would make a good world champion. He does not wrestle a style that I think is all that impressive. Yeah, he does that shotgun lariat or whatever it is, where he comes over the rope and hits somebody. That's cool. But a lot of people didn't care for JBL, and he also had one big clothesline move, and that was it. But like, he's not a good promo. Like, he's not bad. I don't want to sit here and say he's bad, because a lot of people think that there's only good or bad. There are levels to being a promo guy. Adam Page is not an exciting promo. He can speak clearly. He's not doing good lucha things. He's not McGillicuddying the future past, the reckoning of McGillicuddy. But he's also not that entertaining. Like, he's somebody who has, I think, the most amount of wanna-like-itis I've ever seen in my life, because everyone wants to like Adam Page, but there's just no reason to. And I don't want to chop anyone's favorite down, because I know Swish loves Adam Page, but there's nothing there outside of the guys who like him to really embrace. Like, everyone who becomes a star has a discernible quality that brings someone in who's not a fan. Like, if I met someone like The Rock, like Dwayne Johnson's the Rock character, if I met someone like The Rock in real life, I would hate that dude. Arrogant, flashy, talks down to people all the time. He's a bully. But there's such a charm with Dwayne Johnson as that character that it brought me in. And I'm talking about becoming a fan of the dude in 1999 when he was a villain, a heel with the corporation. But, Stone Cold, a lot of his fans weren't just white dudes from Texas who like to drink. I know a lot of black people who like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
yeah,
He had a charisma that transcended past the thing that people would be, that would qualify as an identifier. Like with Bruno Sammartino, he wasn't just an Italian immigrant. The dude was able to capture an audience. So
yeah.
Hulk Hogan, before we knew about his true affinity for brother. Marcus, I don't think Hogan is. I don't think Hogan's going to have the same type of fan appeal today that he did 25 years ago, but still. But when you think about someone like Adam Page, I don't think he has that transitional. I don't think he has that ability to transcend past, he's a cowboy from Virginia? Okay.
Yeah, and maybe this is yeah, maybe this is a conversation we've kind of been in and out in terms of like this specific point. But I think he feels like one of those guys that has pocket momentum, where it's not like guys we've seen like a Lashley or numerous others that just all they need to do, you kind of just need to let them go in their lane and they can go.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why we was making so many jokes about Lashley is because they refused to put him in any position where a guy like that could thrive. Like, they did anything but put him in a position where he could look dominant. But then you get to Page, I think, like I said, he had some momentum building up in New Japan. He had some stuff in Ring of Honor. Then obviously he went to New Japan and stuff like that. And then he came to AEW and there was a little buzz. But then, and I think in all three instances, he had this pocket momentum. But if you don't capitalize when, you know, he's kind of catching in that pocket, it easily dissipates. And he doesn't have, to what you were saying, he doesn't have the charisma or character to consistently keep that up, even when he's not in or around something big. So when they haven't pulled the trigger, it's obviously, I think even they know this. Like, we can make this feel great in the moment, but I don't think he can keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's telling. Like I said, shout out to Swish and everybody else. It's not that we down him like he's, some type of hack or anything like that. He's not freaking, the Baron Corbin of AEW. But You know, it's just sometimes you kind of right there in the middle, maybe a little past the middle, but you're not, the guy at the top of the pecking order. So, it's gonna be, and with so many guys that's caught in the middle that could be at the top, that's a hard spot to find something in.
And that's exactly part of the issue with Adam Page is he's someone who, if he was on like a Ring of Honor roster where your biggest name is Jay Lethal and your best worker was a guy who doesn't speak English in Roosh, or speak English well, I should say,
Yeah.
then he could thrive in that because he's not battling with better talent. Like he's top of the class in the work rate at least him and John Gresham. But that's another reason, like with someone like John Gresham's able to stand out in Ring of Honor because even though he's not a great promo, John Gresham's the best worker they got. So he can really stand out. But in AEW, Adam Page isn't the best worker. I wouldn't put him in the top 30. He's not bad. This is more of a statement of how good the roster is in AEW. As far as a promo goes, he's not in the top 20. There are a lot of guys, like Pentagon. I don't understand a word he's saying, but when he speaks, I'm captivated. I'm not captivated by Adam Page. But moreover, I think there's two good kind of comparisons, I think, to liken Adam Page to. When you talk about pocket momentum, I think, that isolated moment of time when you could have made someone into a star and didn't, Ryback stands out. Everyone was chanting, feed me more for like a year. He goes in to face CM Punk for the title, and he could have won, been this big draw for you, but instead you feed him Punk, or feed him to Punk, and have Garrett Bischoff's cousin, Johnny Bischoff, or whatever that dude's name was, screw Ryback out of the win. I think Ryback won by DQ or some nonsense like that in a Hell in a Cell match. Oh, God, booking. They don't know how to do it. And the other one, I think more, that's kind of like the example to use if we think Adam Page is stuck in this format, so to speak. I think a great one-to-one for Adam Page, if we're talking about guys he could follow a trajectory of, would be a Booker T. When Booker T finally broke away from Stevie Ray, no one was talking about him being a world champion. But that's because he hadn't found himself yet. So when he was doing the TV title stuff with Chris Benoit, he really showed what he was capable of. And then you move him into feuds with guys like Scott Steiner in 98, 99. You have him build up his reputation with matches with like Rick Martel. And then, eventually at the end of 99, he's feuding with his brother. And then you go into 2000 and you're kind of forced into a position to thrust someone into the limelight, and you choose Booker. And then Booker goes into WWE and really finds himself, finds his charisma, finds his voice, and becomes the complete package. And then all of a sudden, Booker T as a world champion makes all the sense in the world. Page can do that, but he's not there. And every time someone says a future world champion with Page as today, I just think to myself, a guy who just doesn't have it right now. And I don't know anyone who would truly be like, yes, in a company that has Cody and Sting and Jericho, Pentagon and Brian Cage, and even like younger guys like Hobbs, I don't know how you look at Page and go, oh yeah, he's next in line. That just baffles me. There's nothing about him that makes me think he's a draw right now. He could be. He just isn't. Wrapping it up. So Ethan Page debuts in the ladder match. I don't know how you felt about that.
I think, to me, when I saw it, because I saw it after the fact, I was like, I feel like it was more entertaining watching people's excitement slash like false excitement over Ethan Page. Like, oh my God, Ethan Page is in AEW. Wait a minute, who's Ethan Page? And these are tweets. And then this is, some people knew, some people pretended like they knew. And it's cool to see. Obviously, we knew he was a free agent. We'll see what happens, man. But like I said, we just mentioned out a lot of names, man. You got to get in line unless you literally get put in a scenario where you kind of the guy maybe going up against a Cody, because, how do you follow Shaq? Yeah, we'll see what happens, man.
I was unimpressed. Ethan Page on his own is a mid-carder. He just is. He's very charismatic, and he's a good promo. but he's the exact opposite of an Adam Page. He's not someone that I would put the title on. Yeah, when he formed the North with Josh Alexander, no one was talking about, oh my God, Ethan Page is so good in the ring. We were talking about Josh Alexander having the look, the style, the credibility to be a world champion. And we were like, oh, and also Ethan Page. So sure, yeah, you got Ethan Page. He's going to be a good promo, but you don't have a lot of segments for good promo guys. So talk about a waste of time. So then we get to the street fight. Darby Allin and Sting defeated Team Taz. It was definitely a thing. We start off with like this dumb cinematic entrance, and then we have music, and the match itself was fine, but it felt completely unnecessary. I don't know why they had to go to an alternate location to do this. I don't know why it had to be in some rundown factory. I don't know why they had to do any of this for a street fight. I was thinking maybe they would like really limit Sting's movement and momentum, not momentum, but involvement. They didn't. And I was thinking, well, maybe they'll frame it in a way where they have to do a lot of takes to get Sting to do, the things so they can protect him. No, they shot it like a regular match. The only thing they really did was they're like, all right, Darby, why don't you do some dumb shit with your cameras? And I'm like, oh, cool. Because when I watch wrestling, what I really want it to look like is a cinematic experience, not simulated combat sports. Cool. It was fine. Definitely not, this is Sting. I love him. I watched the show because he's on it. 90% because Sting was on it.
Yeah.
I'm not happy, but I'm also not over the moon with this match. It was what it was. And like the thing that really kind of irked me was like, oh yeah, we got all these guys standing around the ring and Sting and Darby Allin mask or face paint. I forget what it was. I think it was face paint. And then Brian Cage starts beating them all up, and they just stand still until Brian Cage gets to him. Like, who thought of that stupid fucking spot? Brian Cage just beating these guys up one at a time, and that no one's like. It would have been cooler if they all like bum rushed Cage, and then Cage exploded out and tossed them around like little Lego characters, just wah 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 wah. But instead, he just beats them up like they're putties.
Yeah. It was bad. Of course, I thought of you doing this match. Like they put my boy's favorite wrestler in his least favorite match.
Wasn't happy.
It's a middle finger to the Portal community. But,
the Portal community.
By the way, speaking of that, I can't believe we brought up that about Resident Alien. It was like the Greys have the ass fetish, and I missed the perfect opportunity to say the Grey community.
The Grey community.
The Grey community.
The Grey community.
But yeah, man, this because you saw the formula immediately. Darby takes a lot of the hits and the blows, and Sting comes in and does his thing every now and then. But for the most part, it's Darby doing his Darby stuff. And like I said, Sting came in there every now and then. But I almost would have rather, like for whatever reason, Sting was late, due to face paint issues or something. Then Darby's taking most of the match. It takes like an old school Cena beatdown for 30 minutes or something, or 29 minutes. And on the last minute, Sting just comes in there with the bat and just pops both of them in the knees with the bat. And then they do the Peter Griffin. Get the exactly. And then just get in and get out of there, man. Like it's that's basically what the match was anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Except they get the pin. So
now there was some of it I liked. I don't want to completely like trash on this. Sting did take a big spot. It wasn't like a huge spot, but considering he's 61, has a neck issue. Yeah. Cage kind of like I forget what he exactly did. I don't know if it was like a spine buster or a power bomb, but he slammed him into a brick wall. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that seems uncomfortable. But also, you're filming this in a cinematic style. You could have thrown him out the hole on that second floor balcony that they were in, and had him like land in like a giant, dumb poof thing. I forget, airbag. There we go. That's the word. And like you could have had a stunt double do it or what have you, and like they have that huge opportunity and they never take it. All they do is like they throw a bat from it. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's really interesting and it's hard to watch the scene because you want him to kind of get in the grunge of it, but then as soon as like you said, he power bombs him or he choke slams or one of those type of bumps that you can't really enjoy the carnage like you want to because you get worried immediately. And then at the same time, you're like, well, they was gonna go there. They could have used a stunt double, or they could have done something. But it is what it is. But I did kind of get some of your exhaustion with this cinematic stuff, specifically if you're gonna keep monotony of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
There's no good way to do another cinematic match. Like, there's just not. I would say that this is like the best of like the last few years, but even still, then, outside of Matt Hardy's, the one he did with Jeff, where they went into the what was it, the Lake of Reincarnation, and like Jeff
yeah,
came out as Willow and Matt came out as like someone else, or like version one. Like, that was,
yeah,
you peaked, and everything else from there was downhill. And I don't think people realize that. So like, it really doesn't matter like what new ideas you can bring to the cinematic wrestling structure, because it's always going to be the same shtick, and that's kind of where the problem lies. As far as a Sting match goes, I was happy to see him. I liked the face paint because it was like half Darby, half Sting. I think Darby also had the same look, if I remember
yeah.
correctly. So that was pretty cool. Overall, it wasn't the worst cinematic wrestling match that I've ever seen, but it certainly wasn't good. But it was
Yeah, I mean,
better than the main event.
I gotta say, man, I've kind of grown. This Darby Sting combination has kind of grown on me. At first, I wasn't digging it. I really wasn't digging it. I was like, man, this might work better with them as enemies. But I've kind of been digging it just because they've kind of had them play off their personalities. Things like the loner without the death fetish, and Darby's obviously the loner with one. And seeing them kind of come together and seeing kind of, okay, let me kind of lean into this kid a little bit. Maybe he could, maybe some of his swag can blend with my crowness, if you will. So that's been, I think seeing their interactions have been better than seeing them potentially wrestle together.
My Cronus. So here's the gist. Sting is the Cure. If you know who the Cure is, Marcus, they're a band. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah,
Sting is the Cure. Old school, kind of goth, definitely different. And then you got Darby. He's new school emo.
yeah,
Same thing, just different eras. So yeah, let's talk about the main event because it was bad. I didn't like any of it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just the ending ruined it, and I'm sitting here going, no, the idea ruined it. I'm sitting here going, 2 weeks ago, whenever they announced that it was going to be an exploding barbed wire death match, I was like, this is dumb. This will never work, and it didn't. And I'm sitting here going, duh, because TNA already did this when they were 2007 lockdown. Electrified steel cage. Remember that nonsense?
yeah,
We didn't like it then. We ain't gonna like it today. They are catering too hard to the IWC, to the mainstream wrestling fans, or I shouldn't say the mainstream wrestling fans. They're catering too hard to the hardcore wrestling fans, and even most hardcore fans don't want this shit. So like, I don't know why they thought it was a good idea in the first place. Especially
it's
considering you could have just done like a barbed wire masker match like Impact does, which would have been better.
it's it's one of them. Look, man, you got to give TNA if nothing else credit. They literally tried everything, like the Elevation X.
I actually like those.
Uh, I liked them too. I liked them too. And God bless guys like AJ Styles and Rhino who pulled something off as much as they could because obviously there was the fear of death. But
Rhino's
yeah,
undefeated in those matches too. He's 2-0.
yeah, man, that very carefully placed straight on gore. uh, yeah, he's doing on that. So kudos to him for trying everything. But I think this was one of those instances where fans hype stuff and get geeked up for the idea of it, and then the execution disappoints them because they hyped up the idea too much in their head and didn't really think about how it would go down.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at that last man standing match they had, they kind of peaked with the brutality potential in that. If anything, this was kind of more of like a tailor down version of that with a light show.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, they tried, and then obviously Moxley is always needed that. I think you probably could have did a I quit at this point. Um, But who I think. Wait a minute, didn't he just do that with Kingston? So maybe not. I don't know. But like I said, they tried to just. I mean, once you knew the interference was coming, you was really just kind of waiting on that, and then when the sparkles went off, and it's like, yeah, okay, just it's like we know nobody's dead. Kingston is selling the hell out of this, and I appreciate him, but come on, bro. Like, come on, like, go home to your pregnant wife and just do Netflix and chill. Come on, bro. Like, you're killing me with this right now.
You're killing me, Petey. You're killing me.
You're killing me.
I don't disagree with anything you said. This was definitely a situation that I think backfired. I don't think they did anything to help themselves. And I think keeping things more streamlined would have been a better idea. It's one of those things where I can't take wrestling seriously if you don't take it seriously. You know what I mean? Having sparklers go off whenever you hit the barbed wire, like, that's dumb. I'm sitting here laughing at the silliness of it. And now
Hey, a real,
Kenny, gone, yeah.
real quick, tell me, is it because I just feel like you would know better than me. In my mind, I feel like because to the fans, like, oh my God, everything's hooked up and everything's like the minute they touch is blowing up. In my mind, there's a guy waiting to see the minute they hit the rope. I punched the button.
Yes,
That's what's going on
yes.
in my head.
Yes, you are 100%. There's a guy in the back watching on a monitor, and he times it up by pressing the button. I don't know if that's specifically how it went down Saturday or Sunday, but that's how it used to go.
Yeah.
That's how it used to go. The pyro guy handles it. Like every time, like the Undertaker came out, and the flames would come out, or like Goldberg's sparklers or whatever. There was a guy pushing a button, and then if they incorporated that into a match, he'd push another button. And I'm pretty sure that's what they did on Sunday. The pyro guy or Kenny or whoever just didn't build the setup correctly. It's dumb. It's hokey. There's one thing to be. What's the word I'm looking for? Like you think of like have you seen you've seen Galaxy Quest, right? With Tim
Mm-hmm.
Allen, like that's hokey in a good way. Like it's done tongue in cheek, but it's supposed to be taken seriously at certain points. But when you look at something like the barbed wire match, where they just basically decided to do this dumb thing where they're like, oh, we'll just randomly have things going off, and it'll be when they touch the bar, like, you failed because you turned something that should have been haunting and demonic and scary and brutal into a joke. Oh, look, sparklers. And I'm not just talking about the end. I mean the entire match. Sparklers! Ooh, sparklers! Ooh! Like, what was the point of it? What was the point of any of it? It was dumb. You would have done so much better if you just said, like, we're going to introduce a steel cage with a lid, and the entire cage is wrapped in barbed wire. Now I'm like, ooh, that's brutal. You don't need to have any of the showmanship of the dumb sparklers. So this was Kenny Omega trying to embrace his Japanese fandom, because he's a big fan of Japanese wrestling, even in the more wilder parts, like embracing the Terry Funk barbed wire explosion matches of the 80s and early 90s. But like the thing is, like, different eras.
Yeah.
Those matches worked in the 80s because people thought they were real. Just like you
Yeah.
can't do like a foreign heel gimmick anymore because people are like, well, why are you so xenophobic? So things change, and apparently Kenny Omega's control in the company needs to really come into question, because it's not just this match that I know. I'm going to sit here and tell you without knowing. I know he made this match. I know he proposed this match, that he pitched this match, that he wanted to do this match. This match, some of his feuds, the women's division, it's time for someone to go, Kenny, you have no business booking wrestling because you're bad at it. You're bad. No, you're done. Kenny, you have zero idea what you're doing. And it's not one thing. Like if it was just the barbed wire match, then the AEW's women's division was the best women's division in the world, I'd be like, all right, this was a bad idea. Because everyone's got a bad idea. You take enough shots when you're Michael Jordan, eventually you're going to take one, you're like, I probably should have passed. But we've got enough Kenny Omega ideas to know that Kenny Omega doesn't always have great ideas, or even have great ideas regularly. He's pretty bad at having ideas. No more Kenny Omega ideas. If Kenny Omega has an idea, just go. No, Ken. No, we're good.
And it's not one of those situations where we asking for if they were gonna do a ball wild match, they should have did it for real, straight up and down, real explosions, real ball. Like we don't want the dudes to die or be um, permanently maimed. But if you go present something like that and then you kind of damn near turn it into like a big ass party favor, just don't do it. Like I feel like one of the more brutal matches Moxley has had that was far less grandiose was that strap match he had with Harper.
Mm-hmm.
That was a brutal ass match, and it served its purpose, and it got so many great things across. And I think that might have been one of his last matches.
Yeah.
But that hit way harder than this did. Like this was kind of it just got to a point, like I said, between me going like, wow, the guy in the back is really timing these explosions pretty good, and then in my mind like, okay, now I'm waiting on the interference and this real barbed wire. It's just another great line from Batman Forever. Just raises too many questions.
Have we turned Batman Forever into our Bible? And Two-Face said unto thee, grip your fist, pull back, and let it go. Riddler 2013 said, his was good, or yours was good, his was better. The difference, he said unto the Lord, showmanship.
Showmanship. I guess we gotta talk about that big debut. I guess that was it, Dean Malenko.
Yes. So and we actually I worked it so that it would come out that we would talk about after the match. So anyway, the show I would give it a C-. What about you?
Yeah, same, man. Like I said, we don't begrudge none of these guys, man. We don't want to see this company or anything fail or watch and that's another thing. It's bad when WWE seems to have better time management with their pay-per-views.
Yeah, the 4 hours was not good. 5 hours if you watch the pre-show. No, I'm good. If you only have like a 2-hour show every week and you only do these pay-per-views once every other month, okay. I'm fine with a 5-hour event because you have 2 hours of the week or even like an hour show a week. So like it feels more like a big event. But when you have 2-hour YouTube shows and 2-hour TNT shows, and then you have extra content and being the elite, now you're launching another YouTube. I don't need 5 more hours of a special event. Like I'm good. I'm tapped out. So yeah, it wasn't Dean Malenko, although I never thought it was going to be. It was just when Big Show said, Paul White said that it was going to be someone who can outwork anyone. Obviously, I go to Dean Malenko because he's the greatest worker of all time. Don't at me.
I love his
Dean Malenko.
Yeah.
Whose music? Paul White's, Dean Malenko's, or Christian's? Because we got 3 names floating around.
No, Dean Malenko. No, Paul White has never had good music.
No, he has not. Dean Malenko's great at that. Dun 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 dun. Band, dun, band, dun. Oh, he's just walking down to beat your ass, and you already know it.
And then you got that dun, 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 like that. That was good.
Dean Malenko's always had great music, and then he was part of the Four Horsemen, so he had that music. It's just so good. So the big announcement was Christian, and I would have thought Paul White would have been a big announcement because, like, no pun intended, that's a huge get. Because no one would have seen it coming. I don't know why they did what they did when they brought in Paul White. Does he not want to wrestle anymore? Can he not wrestle anymore? If that's the case, then fine. But could you imagine, like Omega standing over Moxley or vice versa, and then all of a sudden some giant fucking bear comes out of the audience and choke slams Kenny Omega through the ring, and it's Paul White? Like, holy shit, people would have like lost their damn minds. Because we all thought he was still under contract until he signing until they announced him with AEW. So that was a failed idea. Yeah. I do like his No More BS show or BS shirt. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, that was good play. Yeah.
Yeah, very good wordplay. Now I'm not gonna buy the shirt, but I applaud good wordplay. It's my one fetish. It's good wordplay just turns me on. So then, like they're like, I got big names. No one's gonna outwork him, and it's Christian. And I'm like, pass. So I want to be clear. I was a long time Impact TNA fan. I've long heard the conversations of it's the old folks' home for WWE talent. People just going there to get a contract. And the funny thing is now WWE and AEW are doing that exact thing, where they are bringing in older talent from other promotions to use in main event spots. And I'm sitting here going, y'all are hypocrites, and I fucking hate you. And you know me, I'm trying not to swear anymore, so I'm dropping an F-bomb. You know that's for emphasis. I don't necessarily have a problem with Christian being a full-time wrestler still. I don't. If he went to New Japan or Ring of Honor or Impact or stayed in WWE, that's fine. But when you think about the fact that Christian's 47, he's been out of wrestling for, I think they said 8 years. And they're bringing him back now full-time. That's what Tony Khan said. He's a full-time worker. I don't have a problem with that. But then you realize that Jericho's 51, Sting's 61, Hager's 40, the OG, not the OG, goddamn it, stop saying the OG LAX. The LAX Part 2, they're over 30, or at least getting there. The Young Bucks are over 30. Cody's 35, 36. Their talent is aging pretty hard. Kenny Omega's pushing 40. I think he's 37, 38. Moxley's 35, I think. So to bring in another dude who's pushing that limit, now granted, wrestling isn't like any other sport because wrestling can be literally augmented to fit the limitations of a wrestler. So if you want to make Hulk Hogan at 68 still the man in wrestling, you can do that. You can just have him, throw a big boot and power, body slam a dude and pin him and win. He's still the strongest guy in the world. Boom. You've set a narrative up to make that person that much better at his age. So you can clearly do that still with wrestling, but when you're adding so many big names and you're trying to establish these younger names, because let's face it, I still don't know who Miro's tag team partner is. I cannot tell you without looking at the lineup sheet who his fucking tag team partner is. So when you're in that situation with these guys and they don't have any real name value or credibility and you're supposed to be building them up and you're not, and you're just adding new names to the pile, it doesn't help. And then you realize that most of these dudes are debuting in AEW the same way they debuted in Impact 15 years prior, and now they're 15 years older and they don't have the same emphasis or abilities, and now you're expecting me to treat it the same way? You're barking up the wrong tree. You got too many of these names popping up that are too old. Oh, Tully Blanchard at 70 wrestled a match. Granted, he just threw a few punches and pinned the guy, but still.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Did he knock out? He was in it. Was he in that tag where he ended up dropping Paige? I don't see. Was that the match he was in? I don't know, but probably was.
I think he was facing off with some luchadors. I think.
Yeah, I mean they damn near them put the four horsemen back together. Him, Tully, Arn.
Yeah, JJ Dillon. He was there.
Yeah,
former guest of our show.
I mean, before nice.
Yeah, that was in the PM days, the pre-Marcus days.
It's not gonna be too long from now. We're gonna be having freaking the four horsemen going against the inner circle. And I'm not saying certain, like you said, certain stuff can't work. I mean, we done been in the era where freaking Rock and Roll Express is getting over, popping off Canadian destroyers and whatnot. But yeah, it's interesting with Christian. Obviously, I've said it before. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. Loved his run in TNA. Then he came back in WWE and kind of did his thing, and then tapered off and had probably one of the most uneventful retirements I've seen in a while. And I don't know if him joining AEW, leaving WWE is more so like you feel like he got that one last run on him, kind of like Edge is getting out, but they wasn't going to necessarily let him kind of go the route that Edge was going. They may have just sidelined him outside his one appearance at the Rumble, or had him playing kind of like the background in Edge's comeback story. And I don't, if you're going to go out one last time, you kind of want to go out doing your own thing. So I just hope, like I said, kind of looking at Sting, that he kind of doesn't necessarily do anything he doesn't need to. And to your point, you got a lot of names, but you can put everybody out there, but it's like they put a lot of their names that could be big in factions so they could kind of justify having them there on a consistent basis without necessarily having them doing something big. So I hope he doesn't get fall into that trap because between Paul White, Christian, and a lot of these other names and some guys they bringing in, a lot of money I would imagine is being pumped out.
Yeah.
Uh, and not necessarily these big consistent things. I think seeing stuff like this is making me miss the NWA because they bring in somebody like Christian and it'll matter because it wasn't like 55 guys on the roster and trying to be on the show every week.
Yes, and that's part of it too. The perfect you brought up the Rock and Roll Express, and they're older than Sting. But the reason why we didn't sit here and go, oh, they're too old, because I don't necessarily think anyone in AEW is quote unquote too old. It's that they were the only guys who fit that dynamic. They were in their 60s. Yeah. They won a title. I think they won a title. But they weren't, battling, the Midnight Express. They weren't battling Arn and Tully for the titles. So it wasn't like, an old folks retirement home situation. It's just them showing that they can still go in 2019 or 2020, whatever it was. But when you look at what's going on in AEW, you have a lot of guys 45 up who aren't just going to be part of the show. They're going to be the focus of the show. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when you have such a big roster of guys who are 10, 15 years younger, who have their own name value, who are being put in mid-card matches or, being buried in the Dark Order like Colt Cabana and being forgotten about, then what the hell is the point of having those guys on the roster if you're just going to bring in even bigger names? Now, that's not to say that they shouldn't bring in big names, but there's a balancing act that I don't feel like AEW is doing. I feel like Tony Khan is like a kid playing a sports game like Madden or 2K or whatever. He turns off the salary mode or turns off the salary limitations and just signs every popular guy he likes and then turns off the trade scenarios so he can just trade for. And then he's got a fucking 1 through 10 on his Lakers team where it's LeBron and Anthony Davis and Giannis and John Morant and Kevin Love and whoever. Just like 1 through 10, the 10 best players in the NBA. That's what I feel like Tony Khan's trying to do, and without realizing that egos matter, price matters, performance matters, roles matter, and it kind of feels like a hodgepodge of him trying to build like this all-star roster without realizing that all-star teams could never work in a full season.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I kind of miss about NWA and stuff like Lucha Underground because even all the craziest in Lucha Underground. They could get away with a lot of stuff, obviously, because of that television and that narrative of that world. But they did a good job of pacing out a lot of those characters. Even when it was in flux by losing a lot of talent in that last season, they kind of found a certain rhythm again. But with NWA, like I said, if a name like Christian would have came in against somebody like a Nick Aldis, it would have been because Aldis had just got through dealing with Modi Scurll, and it was time for the next battle to step in. Now it's like, where do you even throw Christian in at? Is he going to go after somebody like Sting? Is he going to try to insert himself against Jericho? I mean, it's interesting matchups, but it's like what really makes a lot of sense. Like I said, is one of my favorite guys. I'm just happy that he's kind of getting to do something. Because like I said, he had one of such an unceremonious kind of retirement. That is good to see him kind of go out on his own strength, but. I just hope he doesn't get lost in the shuffle because I'm thinking about all these names. You got guys like Sean Spears and like you said, the Kip Sabian who's with Rusev and, all these other names, the Janellas and all these guys that feel like consistent ancillary characters that really shouldn't be on these shows as much as they are. But it's like you got them signed and they were supposed to be doing stuff and potentially tried and then didn't do it. But they're still on the shows now. So, like, it's how many balls you trying to juggle in the air? To your point, it does feel like he's fan casting at this point, and it's not serving the guys who this show really should be serving. Mm-hmm. So,
I think a point that I think they're almost following historically is this feels like Christian joining up right before Big Show's new show debuts, kind of just like how Bret Hart signed with WCW right before Thunder debuted. And they had signed Bret with the idea of him being the star of Thunder. He would wrestle almost exclusively on Thunder. That didn't end up happening, but that was the general idea. And I think they're almost following into the same traps that WCW did. Hopefully, like you said, I do hope Christian has a good run in AEW. And if he has something left, I'd like to see it. I've never been a big Christian guy, even when he was in TNA. But I'm always happy when guys are doing things they love. So, here's hoping.
Yep.
Let's see. I don't know why I had this one up. What else was on the docket after the Christian thing?
Let's see what we had. Oh shoot. Yeah, our boy Apollo has found his way.
Ah, okay. I uploaded the images in the wrong order. So Apollo finally has a gimmick I think has potential, but Marcus, I am still very, very unsure because he comes out with the. So I don't. I want to start from the beginning because I want to make sure I hit every note in the order it needs to hit. I don't know if Apollo Crews is Nigerian in descent. He might be, but just assuming he is feels really racist to me. It'd be like looking at me and going, "Yeah, you're Italian. You know I'm Italian, or you think I'm Italian? Because there's a difference." And I feel like that's what the WWE is doing with Apollo. I could be wrong. They might know he's Nigerian. He may have taken that 53andMe test, or whatever it's called. And it may have been like, yeah, Nigeria. Or he's from the country of Chad. Which I always like making that joke because it's my name and it's a country.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
Um,
But I don't know if he's Nigerian. Do you know if he's Nigerian? Like, legit Nigerian.
I think because I want to say I remember watching the interview with Lillian. I think he is legitimately Nigerian.
Okay.
I think why it's hitting weird is because it reminds me of when I was watching. I don't know if you've seen that earlier documentary on Batista, the "I Walk Alone" documentary.
No.
Um, but anyway, it was like because Batista got this. I think he got the I won't say not the Puerto Rican flag, but yeah, I think it is the Puerto Rican.
He's no. What was it? He's not Samoan. He's because yeah, it's on his. It was on his like right shoulder, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I forget what he is. Batista flag tattoo. I don't think it's Puerto Rico.
No, it's a Filipino.
Yeah. Boom, there it is.
Yeah, yeah, but it was funny because on the thing, it was like Triple H was like, I remember something happened. He got the tattoo or something, and like all of a sudden, Dave uh came up as having Filipino descent. I was like, what? But it was funny. I think why it's kind of hitting, why it might be hitting you in a certain, I guess, funny way, because it's not like this has always been a thing for him in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, okay, okay. Well, so we got to do one thing. He can't smile, so we got to turn him heel. But what can we do to put extra emphasis on that? It's like, oh, he's an American, but he's a legitimate African American.
In my home
And it's like,
country of Africa.
and then it's like, okay, did they just throw him this gimmick, or this is like legitimately him? Because I don't even know if he played with it like that if it wasn't real.
Right.
Because we got the inverse with Kofi.
Mm-hmm. So, but
when
here's the
when he
thing,
first.
though. I watched the
Yeah.
entrance because, like, all right, he comes out with two quote unquote Nigerian guards. Like, that's cool. All right. 3.5 seconds into his entrance, Marcus, what does he do? He smiles. And I'm sitting here going, the black heel smiles. Vince is behind this somewhere. And it's not like a smirk, big ol' full grin. Now maybe he got overwhelmed because like it's a cool idea. Like him coming out with
Yeah.
armed guards and like he's got this really cool scarf thing. I don't know if it's called a scarf in Nigeria. I don't want to be, derogatory by assuming it's called a
Yeah.
scarf. But it's cool. He's got green and white. Green and white pops. It's a great color scheme. He's vibrant finally. But then maybe he's overwhelmed with happiness. Like this idea I've been pitching finally got through, and now I'm so happy. But also maybe Vince is like, "Hey, Apollo, don't forget the smile." I don't know which one it is, so I have my trepidation about it.
Yes. Yeah, it's the opposite too, because you look on the other thing, and he turned heel against Big E, who, all Big E needed to do was tweak up the aggression because he found
Mm-hmm.
like the character and personality. Because obviously when he was back with Ziggler and like AJ, he was just like the aggressive, big, swole, heavy, and then he found that personality with New Day and it popped. But now doing a singles run separately, all he needed to do was turn up the aggression, and he's done that. So he kind of has always been uh been easy for him to find his happy medium because he hasn't had to tweak much. But with Apollo, obviously we know the skill set is there, and we saw little instances of that when he was going against Lashley, trying to turn up the aggression, but it was always something he was missing. So I think, like you said, the gimmick is a good idea. I just think, it has to be honed a little bit more in certain instances. Um, but we'll see. But he's been needing something like this for a while. And it's cool to see that he's getting it on SmackDown, where I think it's a little bit easier to breathe. That's where the Usos kind of found their heel brilliance was on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see how this is, but like I said, it's far better than what he was doing when he first. Because we remember, man, he was on that Finn Balor Colgate side of the game. Like it just you just how they don't have you doing toothpaste commercials at this point is ridiculous.
It really is kind of ridiculous. But then again, like what you mentioned, like how Colgate would that's spot on. I use Aquafresh or Crust. Just pointing it out there.
It's fucking real quick. I remember I was in high school, and I think it was a French teacher or a science teacher, and one of the students made a comment about his breath, and the teacher was like, "My breath is fine. I use AIM," and the student was like, "Well, you missed."
Well, from now on, whenever someone asks me, like if I'm ready to go, or like, hey, do I look fresh tonight? I'm just gonna respond with, yeah, dude, Aquafresh. That's it. That's the new thing. So, yeah, I'm interested, but we'll see how it plays out because it is the WWE, the place where dreams go to die, and talent becomes irrelevant. Last thing on the docket, though, got to put over a big old match for MLW. The Openweight Championship is kind of like their Intercontinental title. It's their secondary title. Hammerstone is arguably my main reason to watch. I think he is the perfect blend of Brian Cage modern athletics and not to go there with him, but Hulk Hogan 80s kind of personality. Not the brother personality, but he's got a larger than life attitude. And he's a star. He's a legitimate star. He's taken on L.A. Park, the former WCW wrestler that many remember as La Parka. L.A. Park's 50-odd years old, and he isn't in the best shape anymore, and he doesn't have the best talent anymore, but he's still pretty damn entertaining. If you haven't watched MLW yet, or if you've had a few months off, this is the match that I would recommend you guys tuning into because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's it. That's all I had to say about it.
So I'm check it out. Like MLW kind of go on to, they kind of almost like that sleeper hit because like you said, between guys like Hammerstone, they got I think Leo Rush is there now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of him. They got some other young guys there. The last champion that held the title that I think Leo Rush has now. We talked about him being talented, but we didn't like his little white side kick that you can't stand because he kind of just stand there and make. But yeah, and then not to mention, they got a 5-2 as a champion, man, and that boy is like a perfect mix of like the Uso swag, if you will, but like full on Umanga, as William Regal would call him. So yeah, they got some sleepers, man. They be having some really good matches, and I think it's kind of hard to. They kind of fly under the radar, if you will, because obviously Wednesday nights is like the Wednesday night wars for NXT and AEW, which I'm like, at this point, you probably should be catering yourself more to MLW because, and what, the better of it is kind of like the less is more, and I think they thrive in that mentality.
It's a real good format. It's done sports style, so like there's always like tales of the tape, and they always emphasize, a wrestler's base style. So like you'll have like Hammerstone, I think is referred to as like a brawler, while someone like Leo Rush is considered like a not luchador-esque, but like something like high flyer, I think is what they just call him. So it's definitely interesting, and I think a lot of people may enjoy it. So you definitely check it out if you're interested in watching some different wrestling. By the by, Cleveland State going to the NCAA tournament. No, they probably won't win. I mean, Cleveland State's part of the Horizon League, and it's like, if you know who the SEC and the Big Ten is, like the Horizon League is like 34 notches below. But they're going to be there, and I'm going to watch and write about it for work. So congratulations to those boys. They deserve it.
Congrats.
Anything else you want to mention before we sign off for the night, Marcus?
No, I think we covered it.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow, me and Zach, for another edition of Making an Impact. It won't be an early show. It'll be at 9 because the Cavs are off until Friday, so I don't need to worry about fitting both the Cavs game and my recap of Resident Alien on the same night. So should be a regular show tomorrow. Marcus can be found on Twitter if you want to follow him at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
He also has another show he does. It's called The True Penny Show. You can find that on Twitter as well at True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. You can find me on Twitter as well at Chad Nerdcorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on Instagram and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut, ChadSphotoHut. We're at the website, realnerdcorp.com. Follow us there for all the new shows that we post every week. I'm working on an actual column. I'm going to take a break from paid work. I'm drafting the WCW brand split that could have been had the NWO taken one show and the WCW taken the other show.
Nice.
I think it'll come out nicely. I'm working on the formatting of it to make sure it comes out and looks good, but I think it'll be interesting. It won't be that long of a column, but the ideas will be there, and maybe build from there. I'll work on that this week sometime. That's about it. Twitter, NERDCORP, and the Instagram for the website is Real Nerd Corp. Be sure to follow us on both of those. Otherwise, we're done for the night. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. And as always, watch more wrestling. Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.